and our dear friend, our brother, Professor Marandi, is here with us. Welcome back.
Thank you, Nima. It's always a great pleasure and an honor being on your show.
Let me start with what has happened yesterday and the way that, because part of what has happened in Switzerland is Iranian frozen assets. And JD Vance, the Vice President of the United States, said we're going to release the frozen assets, but they have to buy agricultural products or the soybeans and wheat and these sort of products from the United States. So they need, Donald Trump went beyond that. He said they need food. Let's give them food, and it's not about releasing the frozen asset. It's we're gonna pay that money or that frozen asset to our agricultural system or to our farmers. Here is we are with what has happened when it comes to Iranian frozen assets. What is the plan on the part of Iranians?
Well, I don't know the details about the $12 billion, but apparently there are two installments, and the first will be to purchase agricultural goods, but the Qataris are going to be purchasing them. Uh, Iran will tell them what to purchase, and the Qataris will purchase them. It's possible that the Qataris have some sort of deal with the United States, but the Iranians, what they are giving the Qataris are specific um, details and prices and quality, and they have to purchase those goods with those assets. Remember, the Qataris are under pressure from the United States. And by the way, I don't know if you heard about the huge explosion in the Qatari gas fields,
Yeah.
and enormous damage was caused. And people here believe it was the Israelis, and that they are putting pressure on Qatar because Qatar is improving its relationship with Iran, and that it's trying to play the role of uh, a mediator between, in order to help resolve the current standoff or the current crisis. The damage done to its critical infrastructure is enormous. It was a big blow. Now, the Qatari government is saying it's a technical issue, but people here seem to believe that this was not something ordinary. And some believe that up to 70, 80 people were killed. Now, again, I don't know the details, but someone here told me, whose information is usually quite credible, says that the belief is that this was carried out by the Israeli regime. So Qatar is under that sort of pressure, and this is what Iran wants is its assets back. It wants the $12 billion back, and Iran is planning on purchasing agricultural goods because the United States, during the siege on Iran, prevented Iran from exporting its oil to a large extent and prevented Iran from bringing in different agricultural goods. So Iran has to make up for that, uh, especially since in Iran, as you know, many products are subsidized by the state. So bread and other uh, foods in Iran cost much less than in many other countries. So the government has to continue to be able to provide uh, cheap food for ordinary Iranians, as it has always been doing in the past. So it's not really, it has nothing to do with Iran. It has to do with Qatar. But the second $6 billion, I think, is the framework is different. They're not going to be purchasing agricultural goods. Iran will be spending the money itself.
The point
That's
of
my
Leb-
understanding. That's my understanding.
yeah, but the point in the meeting between the two sides, I think the Lebanese, the problem in Lebanon was was of particular importance for Iranian delegations because they were somehow repercussions because of, you know, in Iran, there are people who are not happy with the negotiations with the West because they have their own sort of understanding because of the behavior of the West for such a long time. They don't trust the West. And on the other hand, you have the reality on the battleground in Lebanon, which by every day they're killing more people, destroying more houses and villages. And it was mentioned by the head of Iranian parliament that one of the main reasons that we went to that meeting is because of the situation in Lebanon, because they're killing more people. And what do we know about that? And the Iran, what has happened? What was the outcome for Lebanon, which could be important for the future of what's going on in that region?
Well, the Israeli regime, and this is an interesting point that you raised because they're saying that this massive explosion in Qatar, which caused huge damage, I mean, this is going to last, this is going to impact its exports, it's going to impact uh, Qatari's own economy at home as well. And then simultaneously, you saw just this morning that the Israelis shot and killed two young men or murdered two young men in Lebanon as I think roads were being prepared. So it seems that this is a systematic effort by the Israeli regime to it is beginning in order to undermine the agreement. So the reason the one of the reasons why Iran went to these negotiations was to bring an end to the genocide in Lebanon. Now, some people in Iran are very unhappy about the negotiations, but and they say that Iran is doing nothing for Lebanon and Iran's assets are being um, handled in an inappropriate manner, and they are very highly critical of the negotiators. But the reality is that it's not really that all that simple. The Iranian side they have pushed hard to end the slaughter in Lebanon, and the Israeli regime, of course, takes pleasure in murdering uh, Lebanese citizens. We know that. We know they take pleasure in this sort of thing because we see it every day in Gaza, um, every day, every single day. So, but the Iranians went there to do what they could to bring an end to this. And but at the end of the day, Iran is dealing with the United States, which is deeply influenced by Zionism and the Zionist regime, which wants to undermine this. So the United States, it's unclear which direction it wants to take. Uh, and so Iran, we don't know if this deal is going to last. But as long as there is an opportunity to end the bloodshed in Lebanon and to resolve the situation in the Persian Gulf and the broader conflict between Iran and the United States in a way that it becomes more manageable for the entire world, the Iranians will continue to pursue uh, negotiations. But if the United States undermines the deal, or if it allows the Israeli regime to undermine the deal, then we're going to go back to war or or some sort of conflict, and that will deal a crushing blow to the global economy. Right now, the Strait of Hormuz has been opened. The number of ships that are passing through are high. Of course, Iranian ships are disproportionately moving back and forth in large numbers, obviously, to the benefit of the Iranian economy, which has been under siege for this long period of time. But but in any case, uh, the option for Lebanon is either for Iran to shut the Strait of Hormuz again and subsequently threaten and then strike the Israeli regime with missiles, or for the United States to put pressure on the regime to bring this to an end. And right now, after the murder of these two young men, since Hezbollah has said that they're not going to remain silent anymore, there's a very high possibility that Hezbollah will uh, strike the Israeli troops in Lebanon, and then the Israeli regime could strike back, and then we will be going back to conflict. So nothing is clear right now. Nothing is for certain. This whole peace process, this whole um, this MOU, the road that has been sort of a very uncertain road that has been uh, envisaged through the MOU, it could easily fall apart, very easily.
We had the Israeli National Security Minister Ben Gvir says in his interview yesterday, I really hope that a withdrawal from southern Lebanon will not happen. I'm doing everything to convince Benjamin Netanyahu that this will be a mistake. Staying in the field is important. It is not alone. And we need freedom of action in the Dahiya. We need freedom of action in Beirut, everywhere. This is the mindset that Iran is against, and it's trying to do its best to go against it. So they want the freedom of action not only in southern
Basically, what
part
he
of Lebanon.
means. I mean, you saw his tweet. I hope your viewers have all seen his tweet. I did post it, and he is basically advocating mass slaughter in Lebanon, as he's been doing repeatedly. And when he speaks of freedom of action of Dahiya, he means to flatten Dahiya, and they've been gloating about flattening southern Lebanon. And when he says every tear of an Israeli mother, there should be a thousand or thousands of weeping
Thousand.
Lebanese, not tear a thousand tears, one tear, thousands weeping. This is a genocidal monster, and he is a key figure in the government. But he's not a fringe. These are not fringe uh, political trends in Israel. This is the mainstream. This is Israeli society. This is what ordinary Israelis believe. The overwhelming majority of them are genocidal based upon their own polls and based upon their own ideology and their own worldview. So Iran is dealing with monsters, and that's why uh, I think that it's quite possible that this deal could collapse within days or weeks. No one should be uh, have any confidence whatsoever that that there will not be uh, war again, and that the Strait of Hormuz will not be shut down again, and that the globe will not be moving towards uh, a a, uh, an economic depression. So really, the question is, what does the United States want to do now? Vance can, boast about his achievements at the negotiating table. Trump can make his threats, but it's not going to change anything.
Yeah. It seems that you've lost Professor Marandi. He's going to be back with us. And yesterday we had Donald Trump. He was asked about the case of Lebanon. I don't know if you saw that footage. He was asked about, are you going to force Benjamin Netanyahu to get out of Lebanon? Then he came out and said, uh, how do you know? I'm going to do that. Let's see if Professor Miranda is getting back. Yeah. Basically, what Donald Trump told the reporters yesterday. Yeah, Professor Miranda is back.
Okay, sorry. We should think. We should. I should do something about this connection. But in any case, um, the the Iranians are um, are not going to accept violations of the agreement, and they're not going to accept the Americans. I mean, the Americans can spin it any way they want. They can pretend that they're gaining concessions at the negotiating table. The negotiating table, the MOU is very clear, and Iran's demands are clear, and those demands have to be implemented. The Israeli regime has to leave Lebanon and has to stop killing. They killed two people today. So there will possibly be consequences on behalf of Hezbollah and other consequences. Who knows? But I think we're moving towards dangerous waters. The United States has to lift the siege. It's done that. The United States has to lift the sanctions. It's done that for now. and the United States has to hand over Iranian assets. Now, the United States can play with words and pretend that Iran is humiliated and that Iran needs food and the people are starving and they're going to buy Iranian um, American agricultural goods. That money is in US banks. It has already been stolen by the Americans. The fact that it's going to be coming to Iran is a loss to the United States because the $12 billion and the other 12 billion or $13 billion, that's money that the United States is using for its own economy. It's going to be withdrawn. So if the Qataris go and purchase certain goods from the United States, let's assume that to be the case, still, that is a net loss to the U.S. economy because that money will be withdrawn from the U.S. economy. Yes, agricultural goods would be taken, but in general, that the assets, the money, the wealth will be taken to Iran, except for that profit that uh, the that
Yeah.
the farmers make. Let's say.